Hello everyone, thank you for watching this video. So far we have been talking about Azure Active Directory capabilities and how to create user accounts in the Azure AD. What are the different types of user accounts like cloud-based user accounts, on-premises synchronized user accounts, and business to business collaborated user accounts, business to consumer user accounts. So these are the different types of user accounts what we have learned and how to provision their access in the Azure Active Directory, and how do you provide permissions on Azure AD. What are the different permissions we have? How do you assign them licenses? How do you add these users to a group? And how do you provide access to the Azure subscription and its resources, like a management group, subscriptions, resource groups, and resources? What level you provide permissions? What is the scope of these permissions? Which level you add your group or users to the users access to these resources? And we also discussed about different permissions on Azure subscription, like built-in permissions and service-specific permissions and custom role-based access control permissions. We have done a couple of use cases with couple of use cases. So now today I'm going to show you uh, how you can create user accounts through a PowerShell. So we have been doing through Azure portal, like we went through the Azure Active Directory and we went to the users and we created a cloud users here, right? So now today what we do is we will learn how you can create user accounts using the PowerShell, how you can create groups using PowerShell, and how you can perform basic operations using the PowerShell, what modules are required to be installed on your system, and um, you know how we can create scripts, right? So let's get started. As a first step, let us learn together what modules I have to install and how do I install them. So let me open the browser and search for Azure AD PowerShell commands. And I see there is something called Azure AD module. So looks like I have to download these modules and install it to manage the Azure AD users and groups, or Azure AD, administrate the Azure AD, right? So whatever we have done through Power Portal, we can do the same thing through the PowerShell as well. So there are commands already given, get-azure AD application, which will give you the application information. If you open this in another tab, it will have the commands with example, get-azure AD application with the all default information. There are, like, a couple of other information, like you can search with the object ID of the application, right? So you have many options. You can, try with different use cases to fetch the information. Likewise, there are multiple scenarios. You have application proxy connector, application proxy, application management. So if I go to Azure AD related information, so whenever you see add, so you're adding some information. Get is something you're fetching the information. So new is something you are creating any resources. So you are creating a Azure AD MS application, Microsoft applications. And if you go further, there is remove option, which means you're removing applications here. Remove hyphen Azure AD delete application, which is going to delete an application. Delete application object. So there are use case commands and the description. This description will help you to understand what this command is going to do. Okay, and if you look further here, there are options connect hyphen Azure AD, which basically connects your PowerShell session to Azure Active Directory and authenticate this. So before you execute any commands above, you have to use this connect-Azure AD. That's where your authentication will start. Let me open this connect-Azure AD. So you have many scenarios here. Connect a PowerShell with session to a tenant. So you say connect-Azure AD-confirm, then connect to a session using a variable, you are going to store your credentials into a variable and authenticate. So this basically get credentials will prompt you for entering user ID password, and that information is going to be stored into the dollar credential variable, and that variable is going to be used here. So which means connect Azure AD, when you enter it will anyways give you the user ID password, but you don't want to give all the time. You're just storing it in a variable. So Connect Azure AD can also be authenticated through service principal. So without entering user ID password every time, it's like a non-interactive sessions. So you're going to place your password here, and so the user ID password you're going to place here, and you're converting the password into a secure string, and later you're going to use this secure string for authentication. So there is a set of process that we have to follow. We have to create an application and provide create a self-signed certificate. All these things we have to follow to implement this. Okay, this is for the authentication. And if you go further again, there are many other options. If you want to get the Azure AD contact, or any other information, so you have the commands for everything that you do from Azure portal, and you can try whichever is convenient for you. So before you do that, you need to install these modules first. So I always recommend to open this PowerShell in ISC mode, so that you have a command window here in the you have the place to write your script, and you can see the output in the left side window, and you can see there are like three windows here. You can adjust this based on your use cases. If you want to write the script above and execute and see the output here, you can see like this or like this as well. You can change it to the right side. And if you don't want to see the command window, just use this. It will only give you the script window. So right now I will just put them in a side by side. And if you go to the view and say show command add-on, so it will also list out commands in the right side. So you can search for the command that you are looking. Let's say in this case, if I'm looking for Azure AD, so I don't have these commands available because I have not installed the modules. If I install the modules, I could have seen it here. Okay, so what I will do, if I say AZ modules, right? Because I've been using Azure AD Connect for a while, and Azure subscription commands as well. So that's why I'm able to see here. So Azure AZ commands, you can see I can add resources, I can get resources. These are like Azure PowerShell commands. Okay, so what we need is Azure AD PowerShell commands. So for that, I need to install the module. To install the module, I have to click on install type install hyphen module and hyphen name, and provide the module name. I'm going to say Azure AD. If you don't know how to do this, you can always search here in the Google, install Azure AD modules. Okay, so this will show you the details, how to install the Azure AD module, what command you have to install, and what are the operating systems that are supported. So you can check all the details from the documentation. So we'll try to add verbose, because verbose will give you some more information. You have many other options like a minimum version, maximum version of this Azure AD module. You want to go for it, so you can always check those things. So right now I'm going to use this and click on execute now. It says I need to have administrator rights. So this PowerShell window is not on admin mode. So I'm going to launch another PowerShell window, the administrator mode. Okay, I have the PowerShell ISC with the admin mode. I'm going to use the script window again. I'm going to copy the command from the previous PowerShell window and paste it here. And I'm going to save this as Azure AD. Okay, and execute this. So you might be prompting for this. You can always click S to all, because this is the repository from Microsoft, trusted repository. So you can just proceed with the installation. All right, finally the modules are installed successfully, and let me just try to open this show command add-on. And I will try to search for Azure AD. Now you can see all Azure AD related commands are available. You have connect-Azure AD, disconnect-Azure AD, so all the commands are available. So as I said, first we have to authenticate with the Azure AD first, then we can proceed with the any other commands. So to authenticate with the Azure AD, we have to use connect-Azure AD command. I'm going to click on this. If you click on show details, you will have more properties. You can input more values into the PowerShell command. So here you can specify account ID or environment. If you go to access token, you can provide the AD access token, account ID as well, service principal certificate. So these are the different ways to authenticate. That's what I can understand here. You can input your user credentials or access token or with the service principal certificate. So right now what I will do, I'll just copy this blank one. I'll just proceed with the command directly, so without adding anything. So since I executed this first command, I'm going to comment out. Um, Maybe I can write something like, use below command to install the modules. I can specify Azure AD modules. Okay, then execute this command. So there are two green buttons. First green and second green button, I would say, is F5 and is F8. If you press function keys, it will execute it. So you can just keep the cursor here and click on the second green button. It will automatically select this line and execute it. Otherwise, if you click on the other buttons, it will run the entire script. Okay, the authentication is successful with the support email ID. And let me just clear the screen, and I will, yeah, I think I should just change the view. Yeah, this should uh, be good. Now, since we already authenticated, I'm just going to comment out this. Now, what we have to do now, so we will just play with it. Okay, let's try to get the Azure AD users. Just type Azure AD and press tab. It will give you all the information, like, let's say users. I get user creation, created object, direct report, user extension, license details. There are, like, many options are available. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this Azure AD user. Okay, I will see if I can put verbose. Verbose, I can add it. Verbose basically will give you some detailed information about what this command is doing it. So I'm going to run this second green button. I think it should show me all the users information. Yeah, it is showing me all the users information. So what I will do, I'll just try to store this into a variable, let's say users. Okay. Now I'm going to run this command, and I can just use the first screen button because we only have the one line of command. Okay. Now let's see what is there in the dollar users. So dollar users, there are multiple users, right? So if I say dollar users dot count and run the second green button, it says 53. So I have 53 users in my Azure Active Directory. So if I go back to my Azure AD or Azure portal and check how many users I have 53 users. So the count is matching. Okay. And if you look at this, it has object ID, display name, user principal name, couple of properties it is showing up. Okay. So let's say if I want to fetch the display names, right? Just say $users dot display name. It will give me all the users information. Okay, in case if you want to print them separately, maybe you can write a for loop. For that, what you need to do is, let's say for each, right? Just say for each, open and close, open and close. For each here, let's say dollar user in dollar users. Okay, and just execute this. Just execute this part itself. So we'll be able to see more information. Now, if I say dollar user and just put dot here, it will tell you what are the properties you can get it. You get account status, age group, assigned licenses. These are the properties you can fetch it. You can further write your PowerShell commands or for loop to save this into a output, right? You can just create an array variable and save this data and export this to a CSV file. If I say, let's say, Krish, let's take one of the property. Let's say display name. Let's say display name, and let me run this one. It's giving only one user account. It's giving all the users now, right? All the user display name it is giving. So this time you can just, we can further explore this on the for loop and start exporting this to CSV. I'll try to put the scripts in the description so you can just use them as a reference. Okay, this is to get the, all the users information. In case if I want to get one user information, what else I can do here? Okay, let me see if I want to get one user information. I would say get hyphen Azure AD user and hyphen display name. Do I have display name? No, I only have object ID option. I cannot filter with any others. I can only filter the usernames with the object ID. So if I need to get the object ID, I can use this as an example. Just type object ID here and just run this. So it will fetch multiple object IDs. I don't know which user object ID it is. I'm just going ahead and copying this, and I'm going to say this. Okay, then let's say verbose. All right, I'm going to clear screen now and use the second green button. I don't want to run the entire script. I only want to run this, so I will use the second green button. Oh, we made a mistake here in the script. You might be noticed while watching. I have to add object ID here, right? I have to specify the object ID, then use this. Then it should work. Okay, we have received, and you can see the username is test user. Okay, now let's see if we can get these details into a list and see if we get some more properties. Yeah, we are getting more properties for the user. Okay, so these are the properties you have for the user. So you have deletion timestamp if the user was deleted. So this object ID, account status, what is the account status? What are the licenses are available? Because licenses can be like more than one, right? Sometimes that's why it is in array format. So assigned plans, these are the plans assigned for this user. And what is the company name this user belongs to? What is the department name, first name, last name, all the details. What is the job title? What is his email ID? So you can see many properties. So right now you may not realize the value of this, properties, but when you're working in automation or automating certain task in the enterprise environment. So you might be finding this is very useful. Maybe let us say you get a request to get all Azure AD users and validate them with the um, subscription, right? Subscription users who all are having access to subscriptions, or who all are part of the Azure DevOps. Maybe you want to add all these users to Azure DevOps portal, organization, or a project. Maybe you want to add a couple of set of users where the job title belongs to a specific name. Maybe there belongs to the department belongs to a specific category, right? In that during that time, you might find difficulty if you don't find the right property given by Microsoft. Now I think these are good. We're getting many useful properties, so we can use them to do further automation, right? So that's the beauty of this commands, which is good. So now let us see what are the groups we have. Azure AD group, okay? And I'm going to run this blindly. Okay, there are many groups available. Object ID, display name, you get a description, and is there a way I can get the format into the list, the output, format list? Oh yeah, it is giving. You can see the properties ending with the security enabled. If I see this, okay, these are the properties you're able to see. You can see the object ID and object type, description of the object, name of the object. It's like a object is nothing but any user or a group, whatever we call it as object. Okay, likewise, you have many objects here. If you want to fetch specific group information, you just need to say, maybe let's see what property Microsoft is giving us to filter the group names. So it only is giving object IDs. You can only filter with the object IDs. Okay, so May 2023. Okay, this is what we will check because that is where our users are available, right? So if you follow my previous sessions, you'll understand this May 2023 group has many users. Where did it go? Yeah, it is here, and this is the object ID for this group. So I'm going to use this object ID in this case. All right, and I'm going to say format list and fetch this information. Good, I get many more information, I would say. It says the description students of May 2023, the current list of people who are taking sessions with me. So that list, this is what the list. And how do I get the members information? It's just giving me the group information. But if I need to know who are the members of this group, I think I have to use a different command. It's not giving any information about the members, right? So let me see if I have any other command. Get hyphen Azure AD group members. Can I guess that? Yeah, it's this member option. And how do I filter a specific group? Then let me fetch, click a hyphen, and it is giving me list of filters I can use it, object ID. Then I think I can use the same object ID here, and I'll say format list. Okay, so then let me run the second green button, and I'm seeing a lot of properties. Okay, so out of this, is there a way I can filter one specific member? Is there any option I have? It says all, but I don't see any condition where I can filter the specific name. So all means, what happens is if there are like in a group, if there are like more than 1,000 or 1,000 members or exist, right? So you have to specify the numbers, okay? Then only it will be able to fetch all the details. Otherwise, you have to specify all set to true. I think it should be $true. Then it should fetch all the details. Otherwise, it will say that, there are many users in this group, you cannot do anything. Okay, so that's how you have to specify. If the group has more than 1,000 users, right, or more than that, you have to set this filter, this command, this object. Otherwise, it will only fetch, it will give an error saying that, there are many users in this group. You have to set -all, and it should be true. Okay, so now I think I have a couple of users here. I'm part of this group. And if I need to fetch this, I think I can further write the command from this where object ID contains so and so object ID, then I can fetch the information. Okay, this is how we fetch the group's information. But in case if I want to perform a delete operation, if I delete this group, I think it's going to be a problem to me. So the team will not be able to log in, and there will be a lot of concerns. Okay, so let's try to create a new group, and we'll try to perform a couple of options. And let me just try to take this user's information so that we'll see if we can add them through PowerShell. Okay, I will save this into a variable. Let's say members. Okay, and run this. All right. So I think I should have the members information. If I say $members, I'm able to get this information. Okay, for now, let's create a new group. So the name itself new, right? So I should start using a new -Azure AD group. Okay, then it will ask me for the description. This is the test group. And if you want to give any display name, provide the display name as test group. Delete this later. Okay, then what are the properties I can add it? Let me say hyphen mail enabled. Oh, mail enabled is set to no or yes. I think it's not enabled. So no, it should be no. We can look at the properties. Mail nickname, I think these are all not required. Security enable, not required. Verbose. So the question here is, when you go to Azure AD and create any user account, any group, sorry, any group, I think you have an option to add members. If I go to the group and create this manually from here, it's a security. Okay, security group. It's not a mail M365 group. Let's say group name is nothing but display name. Let's say test. Okay, and group description, we can add this a test group, and membership type assigned. And you can see, right, we have a option to add owners, and we have an option to add members as well. But if I go to PowerShell, Microsoft is not giving such option here. So if I say hyphen, it's only saying mail enabled, mail nickname, but it doesn't say anything about members or owners. So that's too bad. Let me see if I can execute this and see what will be the output. And I'll see mail enabled. I think, let me see what option I have to select here. I think it should be false. Let me say false here. I'll write here itself. I'll stop this command. Let's say mail enabled. I would say false. And mail nickname, let's say not applicable. Okay, then what else we have? Security enabled. I think it should be true. Okay, now let's run this. It's a very big command, long command. It says while executing the group, invalid mail name group is group. Oh, I think this is something it should be not set. Set or not set. Okay, it's created. Now this is the object ID, and we know how to fetch this group, right? So now let me type get hyphen Azure AD group and object ID. Object ID is this one. Yeah, we are able to get this information, and I can say format hyphen list. It will give me the details. Okay, even if I go to Azure portal and refresh this page, let me say delete. That's with the delete. You can see the group is created, and I have an option to add members and everything. But while creating the group from PowerShell, I didn't see any option. So to add members to the group, let me see what option I have. Add member, add hyphen Azure AD. Always have to specify Azure AD group member. Okay, we have an option, and this is where we have to specify the object ID of the uh, group. I don't know. Let me just check this. What properties it has it. So if I go to this and search for it here, you have the information. Reference object. So what does this reference object means? If you read this, right, you'll get more information. Object ID specifies the ID of a group in Azure Active Directory, and reference object ID tells you the owner or member of the member object ID. Okay, so in this case, I think I should be fetching the group object ID. This is the group object ID anyways. I'm going to specify this for the group object ID, and then I have to add reference object ID. Reference object ID should be able to fetch from the members group. Okay, dollars member dot this is 0. Sorry. I got one user, and user object ID. I'm going to add it here and say verbose. Then run this. Okay, it's added. Now let's say get hyphen get hyphen Azure AD group member, right? Then here again, I have to provide the group object ID to fetch its members. Okay, then here I'm going to say at the end format list so that I get the data with more information. You can see here the user information is available who is part of this group. So there's only one user at the moment. We just added a more, so able to get it. So this how we add it. I mean, it's like, one user we're testing. If there are like multiple users, they have to be part of a group. And it is difficulty for Azure AD admin or any IT admin, right? So what we do is we might have to create a power for loop or maybe a function where we get the group details, then we get the members list, and we'll just go into the loop and add all these users into this Azure AD group and validate them and send out a communication email. So the further automation can be done by your automation team, or maybe if they ask you to do it, it's pretty simple. You just go to the same documentation, just try to explore it. I will try to provide sample PowerShell commands and a couple of scripts so that you will be able to do your practice. And it's very easy to learn. In case if you are not sure how to get started, just start with this documentation. So before you write any script, ensure that you understand the requirement first. Okay, then you start researching towards that. In this case, in today's session, I've not installed Azure AD modules. I've not done anything before I start the session. So we had a requirement. We have been doing this, adding users, adding groups, integrating applications, fetching the information through portal. So sometimes, it may take time. In case if Azure portal has an issues, how can we fetch the same thing from the PowerShell? So that's the third, we got it. Then we started exploring how PowerShell can help us. So that's where we started, okay, how to install the Azure AD modules. First of all, what are the modules or what are the commands we have? Okay, and how do you authenticate? What commands you have to use it? Then how do you install those modules? So once you install it, how you start executing. So one after the other one, we just took as an example, we faced errors and we tried to fix it. So that's how it goes, right? So that's how you have to start learning and start exploring by yourself. In case if you find any issues are stuck anywhere, do reach out to me. I'm happy to, guide you further. All right. So this is about the Azure AD and PowerShell commands. It's just the basic information that I'm delivering. In case if you want some more details or more information, please do reach out to me. All right, so before I end the session for today, I want to tell you there is one more module that you can also try using it. This is the module I think has been used by Office 365 administrators. So that is nothing but connect-msol service. This is the one of the good model where you have more properties available. It can also be used for Office 365, and at the same time it can also be used for Azure AD as well. Because even in the back end of Office 365, Azure AD is the core identity platform, right? So the users are always provisioned in Azure AD, then it can be visible in Office 365 or Azure subscription. So you can also use this module. You can install the MSOL service modules the same way how we install Azure AD modules, and you have to use this command to authenticate. And it also have option to authenticate with the service principal account and various other options. So once you authenticate, you have an option to get the MSOL group, MSOL's user. It's nothing but your Azure AD user account, Azure AD groups, Azure AD. So information, right? But sometimes a couple of challenges you see, not all the properties may not be available what you see from Azure AD, but at least most of the properties you can see from this MSOL service. So I was using this for quite some time and it is really useful. And you will see bunch of PowerShell sample scripts in the internet as well. Okay, so before you try any script in your systems, try to validate and do it in your POC or test environment before you execute in the production environment. They should be very, very careful. All right, thanks everybody for your time and thanks for watching these videos, and I appreciate your time. In the next video, I'm going to summarize on what we have learned on Azure AD, and I'm going to talk like, if you have been working on Azure AD for some time, how you can project yourself, right? So that's a video I'm going to make it. Hope it will be helpful to everybody. All right. Thank you once again. Bye for now.